You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 145 of Teach Better Talk. I'm Ray Hewart, and as always, I am with my overwhelmingly positive friend, Jeff Gargis.
I am very positive, but if you think I'm letting you get away with that start and not telling everybody about it, there is no way.
Wait, before you embarrass me, before you embarrass me, can I just say that the overwhelmingly positive, descriptive word for you was submitted by Ryan, who was our photographer for our Teach Better conference.
Oh, yeah, and Ryan Caswell.
Yeah, and he wrote, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with Jeff where he wasn't thinking about the future and ways to improve. So he gave you a shout out. So now, do you really want to bash me while I just oozed all that positivity?
I want to give props out to Ryan. So if you need photography or videography, or just a good conversation, dude, just a nice guy. Ryan Caswell. We'll make sure to link him in the show notes too. I think we'll give him a shout out. He'll be back out most likely for 2020.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. He may or may not be traveling with us a little bit this summer. We'll see.
I cannot wait.
But he's super awesome. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that shout out. So I was giving you a hard time because this was the third take because you stumbled on the first couple, but the truth is, you have to start every single one of our podcasts, and that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, when I record, when no one's looking, it takes me 16 tries to. So you have to do it with me over here, knowing that if you slip at all, I'm going to laugh. So I'm actually going to flip that and actually give you kudos for just rocking. Because the third time you were like, I'm just getting through this. And I was still laughing in the background, but you still knocked it out of the park. So you're good. And you were super nice with the word, even though it came from Ryan. So how about that?
I think that was the best backhanded compliment I've heard all day, Jeff Gargis. Thank you.
It was a true compliment.
I'm just excited that Ryan was a part of the beginning of our episode. So what's next? You can't top that. How do you go up from talking about Ryan, our favorite photographer?
The only way I can possibly think of how to top that is, honestly, we've got, tomorrow is that's the only way we can top it. You top it, you bring in Caitlin Giordano. That's how you top it. Because then Caitlin goes, hey, I think we should do a massive Valentine's Day blog release. And we're like, yeah, do it. And she did. And she reached out to our amazing guest bloggers. And we have, I don't even know how many it is. How many blogs do we have coming out tomorrow?
9 blogs coming out tomorrow all at once.
9 posts all coming out tomorrow, all based around the theme of Valentine's Day, love, so on and so forth. Super high quality stuff, and I think almost all from our guest bloggers, all of our awesome writers over there at teachbetter.com. So super excited for that. Ray, I do not, but do you have the list of those in front of you? Can you rattle off a few of our awesome bloggers? And
I have the list, and I have the amazing guest bloggers who are writing them. So I'm not going to go in any specific order. You guys will have to go to teachbetter.com tomorrow to check out all 9 posts. But some pieces to highlight is Jeremy Wrinkle is writing Tech Tools to Love. Aubrey Jones is writing For the Love of Books. We have Zachary Korth, who is writing Spread Love to Your Colleagues. And we'll pick one more. What about Kendall Lawson, who I love? She wrote Love Louder, Building Authentic Relationships with Students. So we have actually way more. I actually could go through so many more. But these blogs will feature Mel Cunningham wrote a blog. Kevin Butler wrote a blog. JC wrote a blog. It's endless. I'm so excited for all of these to be finally released to our network because I know they've been working on them for, behind the scenes for about a month. So this will be a big deal.
Yeah, I love it. It's really cool to sit here and talk about the fact that we have 9 posts coming out all tomorrow. And then it's even cooler when I then remember the fact that after Valentine's Day, we're doubling up how many posts come out every week.
Yeah. So for our listeners who may not know, we publish a ton of content at teachbetter.com, but I am a stickler, and Jeff will laugh at this. I am a stickler at the look of that blog page. So if you go to teachbetter.com and you go to our blog page, it goes back and forth, like a blog post and then a podcast. And we have about 2 days a week where nothing publishes, which is totally a bummer. And I'm always like eager to see what the next blog is. So they've finally convinced me to ruin the pattern. And we are going to be publishing a piece of content every single day on that blog to make sure that you are constantly supported. And it is being kicked off by this amazing Valentine's Day series, which I could not be more excited for.
Yeah, super excited about that, and just excited about the fact that that's what we have these, and it can't happen without these amazing guest writers that we have and guest bloggers we have. So shout out to all of them. If you are one of our writers and you're listening, we appreciate you so much. If you are not one of our writers and you're listening, but you think maybe you should be, let us know. We'll go from there. So super excited about that. Awesome. I'm really glad we got a chance to highlight everyone there. So that's great. I want to talk now. Let's flip to this episode. This was a really fun one because our guest today is not only an educator, but also an entrepreneur. She's in a startup. They're only about 2 years into this. So she's in this mix of, where we were just like a couple years ago. And, it's so cool. I love, me, I love talking with other entrepreneurs and hearing their stories and stuff. And then the mix with her education background and everything is really, really cool. So Emily David is the co-founder and she's the head of education at Bytes Media. And if you don't know Bytes Media, it's a new digital news startup, and they are dedicated to fighting civic illiteracy. And they're doing this by making news more accessible for all of Gen Z learners. And she goes into that. I'm going to let her talk about that better because she's going to talk about that way better than I ever could. Prior to this and going into this, she worked in public school systems, actually kind of across the country. So she's taught in Maryland, Colorado, California. I mean, like literally across the country. She was a first grade teacher, and then she transitioned into a K through 5 special education teacher. She was a reading interventionist. I can't say the word, and a case manager. She was also an instructional coach. I mean, she's got a bunch of roles, and now she's in this role where she's an entrepreneur, but also just striving with her passion for just solving these issues and driving this civic literacy across our country. So super excited. She really dives into it, super passionate, and a lot of fun. And it was really cool. This was her first podcast ever. And Ray, you and I both said it during the episode. I'm going to say it again right now. She nailed it. You could not tell that this was her first podcast, in my opinion.
No, she was great. She's an absolute natural. And I think teachers are good at bragging on their students and sharing their story. So if you know an educator that should be a part of this podcast, message us. We want to know. This is a great episode.
I like that, Ray. And with that, let's jump into episode 145 with Emily David.
Hey, what's up? It's Jeff. Don't worry, we're going to get right back to the episode, but I really want to check out and make sure that you are connected with us on social media. Ray and I and the entire Teach Better team want to connect with you. We want to hear your stories. We want to be a part of your journey. We want to be there to support you in any way we can, and we want to learn and grow with you. So please connect with us. Everything we have is at Teach Better Team. And then, of course, make sure you connect with me at Jeff Gargas and Ray at Ray Hewart. Let's get back to the episode.
All right. We are here and we are chatting with Emily David. And Emily, it's awesome to have you on the podcast. We just found out this is your first podcast ever, so we're super excited to be a part of that with you. And really glad that this is the one you chose to come on for. So super excited. I'm excited to kind of dive in and hear more about your story and what's got you excited and what you're doing in education and stuff right now. But before we get too far into that, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. I want to thank both of you guys for having me on the podcast. I love what you guys do for educators in the community, and super excited to kind of test the waters with my first podcast with you guys. So thanks again for having me.
I think you're going to be a natural, Emily. I'm so excited to get started. Our first question kind of deals with you introducing yourself and answering that age-old question of what you do for a living. So will you tell us a little about yourself?
Absolutely. So right now I am the co-founder and head of education at this cool news startup. You guys may or may not have heard of it. It's called Bytes Media. We've been around for about 2 years now, so won't be offended if you haven't heard of it. We are just starting to get our national footprint out there, working with as many middle, high school, college professors as possible to expand our work. So really excited about it.
Well, let's dive into that since it's new. I love the fact that it's new, just 2 years old. And I honestly, I didn't know much about it before, before we connected to bring you on and stuff. So for anyone who's listening, maybe has not heard of it, has not discovered it yet, can you kind of give us the rundown? What is it? Who's it meant for? Who should check it out? What can we expect? And then where can we go find out more?
Yeah, so Bites Media, we are dedicated to making the news more accessible for middle and high school students. To be honest, we have a lot of adults that actually use it as well because news literacy is a thing these days. We were founded in 2017 to really combat the crisis of misinformation. But when I came on in 2018, my co-founder, Nick, and I really resonated with the media literacy movement that's happening in education right now. So we saw that misinformation is not only a media issue, but also an educational issue, and really tried to mold Bites to become more of an educational tool for the classroom. So basically what we do is we, take a headline story and dive a little deeper into that headline. So a great example, what's going on right now is the impeachment. And so instead of focusing on the political theater or the circus around what's going on with the impeachment, we take a step back and ask foundational questions. What is impeachment? What does the Constitution say about impeachment? What is perjury or obstruction of justice? So really trying to take a step back and take a foundational approach to the news. And then really using those foundational principles of accessibility and universal design for learning to get all students engaged in what's going on in the world around them.
So what was it that really, what spurred you to say, hey, I'm the one who needs to do this. I need to start this. I need to get this thing going.
Yeah, great question. Being an entrepreneur is scary, and failure is constantly around the corner. But I was really drawn to hopping on board with Nick to start Bites and get it off the ground, based on my background in education. So I was a first grade teacher for a while. I then transitioned into a special educator working with mild to moderate learning disabilities. And when Nick talked to me about his vision of Bites, I really resonated with his idea that Americans these days are not able to access information. Not only is there misinformation, but the way that information is formatted on typical articles, it's completely disengaging. Sometimes I'll read, 2-3 sentences and want to click out immediately if I'm not interested. And so I really connected to that and to the accessibility component to what we're doing.
I love it. That's awesome. So a couple years into this journey, tap that on top of being a teacher and as well. So I know you have a lot of stories for us about this next topic, and what we talk about here all the time is failure. I always say that I've been really fortunate to have failed a lot because I've learned from all of that. So can you take us and tell us a story of a time that you've had a failure? Tell us what happened. How did you overcome that? And then what did you take away from that experience?
Yeah, I really connect to that, Jeff. That mindset around failure as being a good thing. I used to coach my students all the time, my students with disabilities, about the mindset around failure. And now running my own company, I'm trying to take my own teachings as I navigate the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, because there's such a negative and raw emotional connotation around failure that I really believe that we need to have a societal mind shift around that, especially in education. But anyways, failure really clicked for me only recently, especially being an entrepreneur, when I was at this summit where Terry Jones, who's the chairman of Kayak and the founder of Travelocity, a guy that anyone would really consider to be successful, started talking about success and failure in the industry of startups and entrepreneurials. And I think it can be absolutely applied to education. That he really talks about this myth that if your idea or product, company, or for teachers, if you think your lesson plan is good, that success will happen immediately or overnight. That if you put your idea out there, the market responds immediately, you're making money, everyone knows your name, and you're really killing it. But in reality, Terry was saying that he equated it to baseball, and what success means in baseball. Now, I'm not a big baseball fan, but this metaphor really connected with me, and I'm probably going to fail telling you guys about it. But That if you look at an all-star batting average, it's right around 300. And, if you have a successful batting average of that 300, any team would be paying you millions of dollars to be a part of their team and get them to the World Series, whatever. But when you think of the batting average of 300, it really means that the batter has failed 7 out of 10 times on average. So that in education, that would be a failing grade of 3 out of 10. So this mindset of this billion-dollar industry of baseball is all about that failure is actually success. And so it's all about getting, as many at-bats as possible, getting as many opportunities to get up there, swing, miss, fail again, and hopefully you get on base. So anyways, long story short, I recently connected that to a failure that I've had. I draft our weekly newsletters for Bytes Media, and it goes out to thousands of educators and subscribers. And I drafted this in-depth article about impeachment and what the Constitution says, and invoked Hamilton and really poured my heart and soul into this newsletter. And I send it out, and 2 hours later, I get a text from one of my really good friends who's a loyal reader, and she was like, Emily, you realize the first letter of your newsletter has a grammatical error and spelling error. I spelled impeachment wrong and had a horrible grammatical error. So to any newsletter subscribers, I'm sorry, but I took my baseball mentality, got right back at bat, and downloaded the Grammarly app, the plugin for the computers.
Lesson learned.
Exactly.
That's a good one there. So let's flip it now. Let's talk about a successful moment you've had. And this can be something big or small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what'd you take away from that experience?
Yeah, success. Whenever I think about success, I really think about my time as an interventionist and special educator. And I equate success to kind of that personal feeling of satisfaction. And I really felt that when advocating for my students. And one memory that has stuck with me forever and kind of guides my work with Bytes Media was this assessment that I gave to my students. It's a newer assessment in that what the students do is they read at the grade level that they're proficient at. They take a comprehension test, and then and they're given more passages until they quote unquote fail that comprehension test. The next step of the assessment is that they're given is that the computer reads aloud a passage to them. They're given the comprehension test, and they do that as many times as they can until they fail. And what it showed was that at the time I was working with fourth grade students who were reading at a first grade level. Those students, when they were reading with their eyes, were reading at that first grade level, but when they were reading with their ears or having that computer read aloud to them the passage, they were able to access not only on grade level, but above grade level material and comprehension. Some students were reaching 8th grade level proficiency. And that moment when their faces lit up that they had this third-party assessment validate the fact that they were not only quote unquote smart, but also competent and able, and that they were true learners. I take that with me every day. And I love to think back to that moment.
I love that success. I think that so resonates with so many things. Jeff, we've had so many conversations about the mediums in which we use and how we really offer students, a variety of experiences to show and prove mastery. I think that's so neat. So such a cool success story, huge success.
Yeah. And so a lot of what we do at Bytes in the articles, we present information in those different mediums to give learners different access points to comprehend, what's going on and what is the foundational issue. So absolutely agree with you, Ray.
I love it. Well, you're obviously doing a ton and you seem extremely passionate. So I have to ask you, what's fueling your fire throughout this time? What's really keeping you excited about education and everything that you're doing?
Yeah, so right now in public education, civics education reform is huge. It's happening across the nation, and it's really exciting, kind of from a nerdy perspective, to see not only how individual states and districts are taking up this cause, but really the division of powers at play. So how states are taking their power and reshaping this movement. I'm really excited, but it all stemmed from the 2014 NAEP report card on our civics assessment that less than 25% of our students are proficient in civics education, which is somewhat shocking. And that we have 22 million Gen Z individuals coming of voting age this election. So not only is it shocking, but it's also exciting to see that states from 2014 saw that report card and are now taking up the charge and reshaping how we teach and how we assess civic education.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch.
So, Emily, with everything that you've been able to do with your perspectives, not only being an educator, but also working with educators, trying to better, our education system, what's one piece of advice that you would give, whether it be a new teacher or a veteran teacher, maybe they're listening to this podcast driving in the car or while they're getting ready in the morning or maybe on a lunch break? I mean, what advice do we need to stay progressive and really support our learners as best as possible?
Absolutely. So going back to that failure, embrace failure. Don't be scared to fail. Fail often, fail fast, but learn from it. Collaborate with your team members, with your colleagues. I think back to my first year, I was almost petrified of those expert teachers. But, when I was an instructional coach working with expert teachers, you saw they themselves are human and they feel that first year rookie mentality if they're implementing something new. So everyone faces a learning curve, and we all need to collaborate and work together to shorten that learning curve for everyone. So don't be afraid to fail and don't be afraid to ask for help.
I love that. The two very, very important pieces of advice, both for teachers and for people in life, in general, in life. I think we're so afraid that we have to put on this show that we know everything, that we're super confident, that we think that asking a question demeans that or lowers our understanding, and I just think it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Being able to go ask that question, that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we share, that's how we connect. And you never know if that one question that you're asking that one teacher is the thing that's going to change how you teach and impact your kids. So I love it. It's awesome. All right. So this is your first podcast, and now we're going to put you through the real test of the first podcast is right here. So what we're going to do is the next 6 questions, your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
I am ready.
You're going to be awesome.
What is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
Bytes Media.
What book are you reading right now?
Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Good book. Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today?
Civics Now Coalition out of iCivics. For teachers, I love PBS NewsHour Extra, and follow us on Bytes Media.
And what's a good YouTube channel or website for educators?
I love TED Ed.
And then give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Daily, weekly, or monthly gratitude.
I like that. And then lastly, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice from my dad: be big, be bold, be brave.
You killed it. This could not be your first podcast recording. Come on.
I know. I think she's lying for it. I don't think she's telling the truth here, Ray. I think it's her
it's
25th at least, maybe.
Yeah, it's the teacher and me just turning it on.
Ray, I like it. Yeah.
Well, I think she followed all the rules and said very quick, valuable answers. So, Emily, you get the trophy for sure.
Trophy for sure.
Yay!
We'll be sending it to you in the mail, so keep your eyes out.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much. Now, I'd be remiss if I couldn't do a shameless plug for Bytes Media. We are about to roll out in the vein of civics education, we just partnered with Anti-Defamation League to launch a national civics curriculum. And what's really cool about this curriculum is that it's harnessing ADL's global expertise on anti-bias and anti-hate. So coming at civics education through that lens and then connecting it and practicing those skills within current events. Really cool, really unique to the space. So super excited about that. It will be live around May. So keep your eyes out.
Oh, can't wait for that. You'll have to let us know when that's officially out so we can continue to promote it too. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So Emily, for those of our listeners who are listening that not only enjoyed everything that you shared, but also want to connect with all of the amazing things you're doing and stay up to date on the new things that'll be coming later this 2020, would you mind kind of sharing with us how people can stay connected with you?
Absolutely. So everything Bites Media, you can follow us on Twitter at Bites Media. Our Instagram is Bites_media. But if you want to connect with me, the best way to do it, and I love getting emails, send me an email. It's emily@bitesmedia.com. And I'll be sure to connect with you.
I love it. And you can find all the links and all the resources and everything we mentioned in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as the important links for connecting with Emily and Bites Media, getting her email so you can keep that conversation going. So make sure you head over to teachbetter.com for the show notes and all of that info there. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating or review, we'd really, really appreciate that as well. And let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these awesome stories and share this podcast with them. Emily, this was awesome. What a way to kick off your podcast now. You did it. Number 1 down, and you killed it. It was great. So I'm looking forward to now seeing you pop up on podcasts all over the place. So really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys. And I will be sure to tell everyone Teach Better Talk was where I got my start.
I love it. That's awesome. And with that, let's get out there and let's teach better.
Hey everyone, let's try again. I don't know what my intro is. All right.
That was good. I like that.
I try. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 145 of Teach Better Talk. I'm Ray Hewart, duh. And as always, I am with, well, let's see. We need to try this again. I didn't even have it open. I suck. Okay, here we go. Stop laughing. Here we go.